It's been almost 5 years since the release of the M1 MacBook Air, but with Apple Silicon basically being ahead of its time, the M1 Air is still considered a very powerful computer even today. But is it still worth it in 2025? Like, should you choose it over the $999 M4 Air or even the $599 M4 Mac Mini, which is undoubtedly still the best deal in tech, period? Well, I guess the answer to that is subjective, and it all depends on how you plan to use your computer and simply what you use it for. Because for 80 to 90% of people looking to get a MacBook Air, the M1 Air will still be able to handle whatever they throw at it, from uni work to research and even the occasional creative or video work. I've had my M1 Air since February 22, and honestly, up until November last year when the M4 Mac Mini was released, this was my only computer and I used it to edit all of the videos on the channel until then. And it was able to handle all the Sony and Canon and Apple log footage I threw at it with ease, and never really felt like it was slowing me down in Final Cut Pro or even in Photoshop. I mean, it will occasionally slow down in Lightroom when I was syncing edits on hundreds of photos, but that's very much understandable since it does it all quietly without a fan. Okay, so a bit of background. The M1 chip was quite revolutionary, especially back in 2020 when it was announced, because it didn't just change the trajectory of power efficiency and performance for Macs. It was also sort of a wake-up call for Intel and Microsoft to really up their game, because the performance on these Macs for the price were insane. And it wasn't just a performance boost. Battery life also increased significantly, with Apple claiming it had the longest ever battery life in a MacBook Air, with an extra 6 hours of video playback compared to the previous Intel MacBook Air with literally the exact same 49.9 watt-hour battery. That was genuinely impressive. And fast forward to 2025, and the M1 chip in a MacBook Air still holds its own and performs extremely well for day-to-day productivity tasks and creative workflows. It only really shows signs of slowing down in sustained workloads where a fan would have come in real handy. I usually have multiple Chrome tabs open in the background while editing in Photoshop without the performance taking a hit. In fact, I could still edit an entire YouTube video with it if I wanted to. It may just take a little bit more time to render compared to my M4 Mac Mini. And for a 5-year-old laptop, it still outperforms a lot of newer Windows laptops, especially the ones that look like MacBook clones. The M1 chip still supports Apple Intelligence, and in fact is the oldest chip to support it, which, depending on how you feel about Apple Intelligence, you may see it as a positive. When it comes to the design, I really love the look of the M1 Air, which is probably one of the reasons I've held on to it for this long. The sleek, premium unibody aluminum feel and the wedge taper look is definitely still one of my favorite MacBook designs of all time. They just don't make them like this anymore, unfortunately. But it still makes the M1 Air look a lot smaller than it actually is, and definitely a lot sleeker if you ask me. It's fair to say that Apple has definitely leaned all in into the rounded square look first introduced with the 2021 MacBook Pro models, which to be fair helps fit a slightly bigger battery, so what's not to like? The screen is a 13-inch IPS Retina display with P3 white color gamut and 400 nits of brightness, which is plenty bright and not that far from the new M4 Air, with a slightly taller display to accommodate the notch and a slightly brighter 500 nits instead. And compared to the displays Apple used to put in Intel MacBook Airs before the 2020 model, the M1 Air is quite a step forward, especially back in 2020. It's the first MacBook Air to support P3 color, a wide color gamut with more vivid, realistic, and accurate colors, giving the display really good color rendition and the accuracy needed for creative workflows. The support for P3 in the MacBook Air is really what made it appealing for most creators, especially those that wanted to dabble in photo or video work. It's what made me even consider it for photo and video editing, and certainly made the cheapest laptop Apple sells a little bit more pro. The backlit Magic Keyboard on the M1 Air is pretty solid. I've had water and soda spill on it a few times, and trust me, it's one of the scariest things, especially after shelling out over $1,000 for this thing. But all the keys still work, and I only noticed just a few weeks ago that the I key feels a bit squishy. It's nothing that a good clean wouldn't fix though if you're bold enough to remove your keycaps. I genuinely like the Magic Keyboard, so nothing really to complain about here. Now onto the trackpad. It's no news that Apple makes the best trackpads in the industry, and I'm happy to report that the M1 Air is no exception. It features a large force-touch trackpad that is very responsive with haptic feedback and excellent accuracy. Oh, and the speakers on these, while not being MacBook Pro level, are still quite impressive for such a slim device. Just take a listen compared to the very basic speakers on my M4 Mac Mini. Apple is just on another level when it comes to speakers on their devices, with the exception of maybe the Mac Mini, and the M1 Air is no different. It genuinely sounds great if you're not comparing them to MacBook Pro speakers. Like my wife and I love watching movies on it while on holiday because the speakers genuinely sound better than some hotel TVs. The fact that whatever Apple is doing to make their speakers sound so good has been around for years, but no other laptop manufacturer has been able to reverse engineer it should be studied. Like they copy all the useless features instead of the features that actually improves the user experience. The camera on the M1 Air, however, is not great. It's a 720p webcam that looks grainy in low light and basically just good enough for video calls and FaceTime. But honestly, that's about the only thing you'll be using it for anyway. I wonder if anyone has ever tried to vlog on a Mac, like a proper Casey Neistat hop on a subway type of vlog. Tag them in the comments if you know any creator that has tried this. Alright, so when Apple released the M1 MacBooks back in 2020, one of the biggest talking points was battery life, with the M1 MacBook Pro boasting an outstanding 20 hours on a single charge, longer than any Mac up until then. The battery life on the MacBook Air also jumped from 12 hours on the Intel-based chips to 18 hours with the same form factor, thanks to the efficiency of Apple's silicon. That was insane back then and still holds up even now with only 83% battery capacity left on mine. I can go a fair couple of weeks without plugging it in, since all I use it for now is watching YouTube videos and the occasional product research when I'm not at my desk. When it comes to how it compares with the latest Macs, well yes, my M4 Mac Mini is noticeably faster with like video editing and general day-to-day tasks, because after all it's got a 24GB unified memory and a newer faster chip. But the M1 Air is not far behind. I could genuinely still use it today as my main computer and not be that much worse off. Apple really cooked on this chip. And the sort of deals you can get on it at the moment brings a powerful chip to a price point that's more within reach for a whole lot of people. Like if you're a student or about to go to college, just save yourself a couple of $100 and go for either the M1 or M2 Air instead of the new M4 Air or MacBook Pro, and it'll be such a great starting point. If you're looking to pick up one of these, you should definitely check out Apple's refurbished program. They'll be a bit pricier than on Amazon, but you're guaranteed to get a brand new battery and a device that is tested and refurbished by Apple themselves. Plus they have the education discount that also applies to their refurbished products if you qualify for it. And that can save you about $100 as well, so definitely check it out. But if you just want the cheapest price you can get for a refurbished M1 or M2 MacBook Air, Amazon would definitely be your best bet, and I can personally vouch for it. I recently helped my brother-in-law purchase one, which arrived the next day in excellent condition, and he hasn't had any issues in about 6 months of using it. Plus with Amazon, you'll be able to return it if you have any issues whatsoever. I'll leave links to the best prices I find down in the description. So yeah, to answer the question, is the M1 MacBook Air still worth it in 2025? The simple answer is absolutely. This is the only computer I recommend to anyone who needs a fast laptop for day-to-day use, web browsing, productivity, and even some light to intense creative work. One that has best-in-class battery life, an excellent display, and great sounding speakers. And with Apple's silicon being relatively new, with the M1 chip still performing brilliantly even today, I'm pretty sure Apple won't stop supporting and updating them to the latest macOS versions anytime soon. You probably won't be able to find one brand new, which in my opinion is a good thing because you can score one for as low as $399 refurbished on Amazon. That's a very good deal for a laptop that isn't that far off in performance from my brand new M4 Mac Mini. So yes, if you're thinking of buying a Mac maybe for college and you don't need all the bells and whistles nor the latest and greatest, I suggest you give the M1 MacBook Air a good shot, as it can essentially do almost everything the M4 MacBook Air can do. Except maybe if you need to be able to connect to multiple displays, then you should probably look into the MacBook Pros or the M4 MacBook Air. Or maybe you're like me and you prefer a desktop, then you should definitely get the M4 Mac Mini, which starts at $599. $599 is such a great deal for the M4 Mac Mini that I can't recommend it enough. You definitely can't go wrong with it if you don't mind not being able to take your computer to lectures or for a coffee shop session. But I guess that's what iPads are for. Thanks a lot for watching, and until next time, ciao.
Stop. Hang on. Wait. One more thing. Hi. I'm a PC. Is there time for questions? Good, because I have one. Why? Why make all these advancements? What's the point? Right? Oh, you're so quiet now. Look, I'm a machine. I'm proud of it. That's my fan. Longer battery life. Plug it in. Where are you going? Just plug it in. Fast. I'm fast. I'm still fast. Check it out. Still got it. PC. Still got it. I've always been there. I always will be. Fast. Okay. My battery's drained. I gotta go plug in. Good luck.